All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to finish the Chapter 1 review. And you will have a test on this Wednesday. So again, your first test will be Wednesday. And all of this is review. So every single bit of this you should be pretty much blazing through. If not, you need to be doing some work on your own. I do suggest that you go to a tutor if you need to go to a tutor, but until you can do this work on your own, you won't be successful on the test. So make sure if you need help, yes, go to the tutor, but you do need to definitely work on your own as well. All right, so we left off last time doing order of operations, and so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to do algebraic expressions. And we start talking about a term, and I think this is one of the first times that we actually see variables in here. So a term is an indicated product that may have any number of factors. For example, this problem here is straight multiplication. To read that, you're going to say 3 times x times y squared. So it is straight multiplication. 3 is going to be your coefficient, x and y are variables, and of course the y is the only thing that's squared here. So, combining like terms, I'm going to go ahead and get that out of the way. To combine like terms, remember that you're going to combine, you have to look at 2 things. Number 1, you have to look at the variable, and then you have to look at the exponent. If it has the same variable and the same exponent, then all you're going to do is put those coefficients together. And like I said, the coefficients are the big numbers up front. So for the first one, for example, you have 14 x's, and you're going to take away 9 x's. So how many total x's do you have? So you have 5 x's. And then we have 13 y's and 2 y's. How many total y's do we have? All right, try the one on the bottom. And again, all you're doing is looking for variables and exponents that are exactly the same. And all you're going to have to do is put the big numbers up front together. So in this particular problem, we have 2 groups. We have the xy squares. How many total xy squares do you have? And then you have just the y's. So we have a negative 2y and we have a positive 8y. So how many total y's do we have?
6.
Very good. So combining like terms. Main thing on this one is remember they have to look exactly the same, and the sign in front of the number goes with that number. That's all you got to remember. All right, distributive property. You remember how to do this, right? There's nothing in between the 4 and the set of parentheses, so that's multiplication. But the parentheses tells me that I have a group, so I have to take what's outside the parentheses and multiply it times everything in the group. Well, there's 2 things in this group. There is an x, and there is a positive 2. So you're going to do 4 times x, which is 4x, and 4 times 2, which is 8. And you cannot put those together because one has an x and the other one doesn't. They're not like terms. We just came through that. So there's your answer. Try it. Try to simplify these 2 problems as much as you can. Alright, so on this one we're going to take the negative 5 and we're going to multiply it through the group, so we'll have negative 5y and negative 15. And then here we're going to take a negative 2 and distribute it through, so we're going to have a negative 2y. Negative times negative is positive, so we'll have a positive 16. One more step, we got to combine like terms. Negative 5y and negative 2y is going to be negative 7y. And negative 15 and positive 16 is going to be a positive 1. The next group, or the next problem, we'll take 3 and multiply it through the first group. So 3 times 2x is going to be 6x. And 3 times 5y is going to be 15y. Then take the 4 and multiply it through. So 4 times 3x is going to be 12x. And 4 times 2y is going to be 8y. On this problem, let's do descending order. So let's go with the alphabetical order. X's are going to come first. So we'll have 18x. And then we'll have, what, 23y? How'd we do? Review. Like I said, everybody should be able to do this. Alright, evaluating. We've already done this one time. Remember I told you evaluating just means that you're going to plug in, substitute in. So if x is 2 and y is negative 3, basically all you're going to do is 3 times 2 minus 4 times negative 3, and then do your order of operations. So in this particular problem, when it says to evaluate, you're replacing your variables with numbers and then going back to the order of operations. So here we're going to multiply. 3 times 2 is going to be 6. Negative 4 times negative 3 is going to be a positive 12. And you're going to get 18. All right, you try it. All right, on the first one, x is negative 5, so on this one we have grouping symbols, so you got to do what's inside first. You have x is a negative 5, so we have negative 5 minus comes from the problem, and then y is actually a negative 7. So be careful with your signs there. So this is actually going to turn into negative 5, double negatives go to plus 7, and then we're going to cube it. So we're going to get 2 cubed, which is going to be 8. So that problem's kind of tricky because there's a minus sign in there. So just be very careful. Anytime you evaluate and you're substituting in a negative number, use those parentheses. It'll help you. Okay, the one on the bottom. How many of you did the full method and then evaluated? How many of you evaluated and simplified? How many of you are even attempting? One person's trying this problem. Okay. So if you know the full method, you can do that. Or if you want to go ahead and substitute in, you can do that as well. M is negative 2, so you have 5 times negative 2 plus 3 times n, which is 3. That's going to be your first group. Your second group is going to be 2 times m, which is negative 2, minus 7 times n, which is 3. So let's work within the groups. For the first one, we're going to have a negative 10 plus 9. And for the second, we're going to have a negative 4 minus 21. So that first group turns into a negative 1. And that second group turns into a negative 25, which is going to be a positive 25. All right, what else we got? Try these two. On the last one, this one here, I want you to try to do the algebra, and then at the last part, plug the a in. So in other words, use the distributive property, combine your like terms, and then plug the 10 in, instead of plugging the 10 in first, okay? Try that for me. Now the one on the top, you have to plug in first, but the one on the bottom, I want you to do the algebra first. Keep on working. For the first one, I'm going to plug a negative 2 in for x. And it is a negative, so I'm going to use parentheses, not to mention the fact it's squared anyway, so you have to use parentheses. 2xy, that's straight multiplication, so you're going to do 2 times negative 2 times negative 5 plus a negative 5 squared. So negative 2 squared is going to be 4. And then this multiplication I'm going to do all in one step. Negative 2 times negative 2 is going to be 4 times negative 5 is going to be negative 20. And then negative 5 squared is going to be a positive 25. Alright, so if we put all that together, I'm thinking 9. How'd we do? Yes, no?
My fault, actually.
Make sure, yeah, you got to make sure you get them in right. And you certainly got to make sure you do the math right. All right, the one on the bottom. Let's do the distributive property. All right, so we're going to have 2a squared plus 2 minus 3a squared minus 15. And then plus 4a squared minus 4. Combining like terms, we're going to have 2a squared and negative 3a squared, which is negative 1, plus 4, which is going to be a 3a squared again. And then you're going to have 2 and negative 15 and negative 4, which is going to be negative 17. All right, now let's plug the 10 in. So we're going to have 3 times 10 squared minus 17. Well, 10 squared is 100. And then 3 times 100 is 300. Minus 17 is going to be what? Not 383, 283. Good job.
We can do it the other
Yes.
way too, though.
You can do it the other way if you want to. That just means if you're going to have to plug that 10 in a bunch of times. But either way, the answer is going to come out to be 280. Should come out to be 283. It's just to me, if there's algebra to do, I'm going to do that first before I substitute in. But either way, it's going to get you the same result. Okay, fractions. I know y'all love fractions. So let's plug in 3/5 for x. And for y, we're going to plug in a negative 1/9. If you have a calculator, this is a great time to be getting that out. If you know how to plug fractions into your calculator, please do so at this point. If you need help plugging in fractions to your calculator, let me know and I'll be more than happy to help you. I understand that these are not mixed numbers. We discussed this extensively the other day. These are multiplication problems. These are not mixed numbers. So it says negative 3 times 3/5, and that's what you're going to put in your calculator. Negative 3 times 3/5. And then you're going to do 4 times negative 1/9. And then you're going to do 8 times 3/5. And then you're going to do a negative 7 times negative 1/9. And then your calculator is going to give you probably mixed numbers, which is fine. I'm just going to keep them as improper fractions because I'm not using a calculator right now. So the first one is going to be negative 9/5, or negative 1 4/5 is what your calculator may have given you. The next one's going to give you negative 4/9. And then we're going to have a positive 24/5, but your calculator probably has told you 4 4/5, which is fine. And then the last one is going to be a positive, negative times negative is positive, 7/9. All right, let's put the common denominators together first. Let's put this one and this one together first. And it shows you that in the beginning, you could have combined like terms and then plugged your fractions in, which is the way I prefer to go, but since it was brought up, we'll just go this way. So negative 9/5 and a positive 24/5 is going to be what? 15/5. And then you have a negative 4/9 and a positive 7/9, which is going to be a positive 3/9. Both of these will reduce. But I don't think I will. 15/5 is going to be 3 plus, this is going to reduce to what? 1/3. And 3 plus 1/3 is 3 1/3. Or 10/3. Either way. So, again, if you want to do the algebra at the beginning, you can. If you do the algebra at the beginning, it's probably going to bring you to here. Or you can combine like fractions, or you can just type it straight into your calculator. Whichever one you prefer. All right. Translating algebraic expressions. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to take every word and replace it with a symbol. So you have 6. Of course, you know the symbol 6. More than, there is a chart in your book on page 31, 32 that shows you if you see a word, it has a symbol for it. Okay? So if you want to look in your books on page 31, 32, it will show you the charts, and it will also show you some verbal expressions that are translated to kind of help you out. So you have 6 more than 8 times some number. I'm going to put those together. Of course, we know 8, and then times some number is going to be 8n, 8x, 8r, 8 times whatever you want it to be. Just don't put in a number. So this algebraic expression is going to be 6 plus 8n. Addition and multiplication are commutative, so it doesn't matter how you write it. So this could be 6 plus 8n or 8n plus 6. Now, the one in the middle, less than, that is subtraction. Subtraction is not commutative. You will see one like this on your test, so make sure you get it right. Make sure you read and understand what's going on. This says 5 less than a number. 5 less than a number, so think about money. If you have $200 and you lessen it by 50, how much do you have? If you have $200 and you lessen it by 50, how much do you have? 150. You did 200 minus 50, right? So watch this. This is going to be n minus 5. If you see less than, then you're going to have to write it kind of backwards of what you're reading. All right, the word sum. That is the answer of an addition problem. It does mean to add, but in particular, it means to multiply 12 times the answer of the addition problem n and 7. So what it's going to say is you're going to have to do n plus 7 first, and then turn around and multiply 12 by 5. So you're going to have to use grouping symbols because, remember, order of operations? Addition's way back here and multiplication's way up here. But I need to do the addition first. So what tells me to do this first? Parentheses. Okay? Parentheses should yell at you. Do this first. Alright. Cabry, which is a beautiful name. It's the name of my youngest child. Cabry is in years old. How old will she be in 5 years? Or no, how old was she 5 years ago? N minus 5. She's 11, so 5 years ago she would be. Okay. All right, look at the bottom. If n represents an even integer, we talked about this in 098. You remember how to represent evens, right? Evens and odds. You're skip counting by 2. So if n is your first even number, for example, if n was 4, what's the next even number? 6. How did you get there? You're adding 2. Okay? So if n represents an even integer, what represents the next larger even integer? Well, your first even integer is going to be n. We don't know if it's 2, 4, 6, 8. We don't know what it is. What will represent the next larger even? You're just going to add 2 every time. Not so bad, right? Okay. So, study guides. Let's talk about study guides. In your books, if you want to look, that would be great. Page 38 and page 40. Page 38 is it's a review of the whole entire chapter. Page 40 is a test to help you test yourself. So this is how I feel the best way for you to study for your test is. Number 1, go through the PowerPoints and make sure you can do the problems. Because the PowerPoint, you will see some of the problems on the test come straight from the PowerPoint. If I can't find a problem in the book that I like, then I'll pull it off my PowerPoint. So some of your problems on your test will come off the PowerPoint. And then what I'll do is I'll go into the review or the actual test and I'll pull problems from there. Same problems, maybe different numbers. Maybe different numbers. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to go through the PowerPoints. Make sure you can do all those problems. Then the next thing you should do is you should go to that review because the review goes in order. Okay, so if there's a problem you come across that you can't do, you know where it should be in the book. It'll tell you what section it is in chapter 1. And then what I want you to do is I want you to close all your notes and I want you to do page 40. Kind of test yourself and see how you do. The answers to all of these are in the back of the book. The answers to every single one of these are in the back of the book. Whatever you make on that test on page 40 is more than likely approximately what you're going to make on my test Wednesday. Okay? Now, or the study guide. If you do the study guide and show me all your work, don't just copy the answer down. Any monkey can look in the back of the book and copy the answer down. I will give you up to 10 bonus points on your test if you do both of these pages and show me the work. Now, the translating the verbal to algebraic, I know there's not any work to do there, so that's kind of fair game. But especially the order of operations and the evaluating and all that, I want to see your work.
So in other words, you want us to 2 pages, OB pages,
On your test. If it's done completely. If you can only do half of it, I'll give you 5 bonus points. If you can only do a third of it, I'll give you approximately 2 bonus points. It's not all or none, but you have to show your work. Any questions? This is on Blackboard, so if you don't want to sit here and copy this down, which you should already have it, but either one, print it off. If you have the PowerPoints printed off like I asked you to do, you have it in front of you. If not, it's on Blackboard. It's the very last slide of every single PowerPoint. They're all there right now. Okay? Any questions? If you were not here Wednesday, I need you to stay for a second. If you were here Wednesday, you've already signed. I need the sign-in sheet. Is that it right there? Okay, that's good. I'll see you Wednesday.